All right, so what are we going to hear?
It's called Wild Dreams, and it has nothing to do with that, you can see.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Moving, still not going places. Walking blind, there's no oasis. Rocks and pebbles, sand is burning. A broken wheel that keeps on turning. Let it go, let it fly, let the wild dreams fly. Let it go, let it fly, let the wild dreams fly. Let it go, let it fly, let the wild dreams fly. For the love of you and I. I draw close as you are bearing all the wounds that need repairing. We ache in earth while lessons learning. A broken wheel can still keep turning. Let it go, let it fly, let the wild dreams fly. Let it go, let it fly, let the wild dreams fly. Let it go, let it fly, let the wild dreams fly. Let it go, let it fly, let the wild dreams fly. Let it go, let it fly, let the wild dreams fly. Let it go, let it fly, let the wild dreams fly. For the love of you and I.
That is Wild Dreams, a new song from the band Darling West on WNCW. It's the Darling West duo here on a little radio tour, stopping by WNCW on this morning. Glad you're tuned in. You definitely heard that North African desert blues sound on that, on the banjo and guitar as well, for sure.
Yeah, and with a little mix of west coast of Norway in there, I guess.
I guess so. What was the Norwegian influence on that? Paint us a picture. I was going to ask, how does your indigenous Norwegian music influence you? Because there's so many different American styles that I hear, the Americana, the cosmic folk, whatever you call it. You spent a lot of time here in the States. I know you know a lot of American roots music. Now you're bringing in that kind of North African desert blues. What about the Norwegian side?
Yeah, I think that's something that we bring with us everywhere and into every song. The Norwegian folk style is very specific in terms of instruments, and we don't play hardangerfele or hardanger fiddle, which is the most Norwegian thing you can get, I guess. But I don't know. I think Norwegian music culture is very influenced by the States and has been for I don't know how long. So our Norwegian music culture that we grew up with is a bit like yours, I think. Yeah. My dad loved Billy Ray Cyrus, and we listened to Achy Breaky Heart in the car all the time.
Okay, yeah.
But when it comes to folk music, I think also we're a lot the same over in our neck of the woods and yours, because we've been moving here and influenced your folk music, and so when you hear some American flavors to our folky sound, it might also be a little bit from our own folky Norwegian sound.
Yeah.
And there are some very fascinating similarities as well, as I've been listening to a lot of those old-time musicians here, Roscoe Holcomb, and even Ralph Stanley, and people I love so much. And then I listen to some Norwegian singer, and they have a similar way of phrasing, or someone who was doing that maybe 80 years ago in Norway, old field recordings.
Wow.
So that's just so amazing and fascinating to hear those kind of similar phrasings. And so there's definitely some relations between our folk music.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. Well, I had a little moment actually after your second song. It was during your second song. I had been thinking beforehand, okay, what are some other Norwegian acts that we've played here on WNCW? And I know we've played some, but I was kind of drawing a blank. There's some Swedish ones, First Aid Kid, and, a number of other ones, a Danish one or two. But I was just couldn't think of any. That second song you played, it was the two of you were harmonizing on your guitar licks. Wasn't familiar with the song, and yet instantly I was thinking, hey, they're sounding a bit like the Kings of Convenience. And which I always think of as like, boy, do they sound like Simon and Garfunkel, but they're from Norway. And then I was like, oh, well, wait a minute, they're Norwegian. And I don't know what it was about a certain harmonizing you did, but I was like, I wonder, well, maybe that's sort of a Norwegian fingerprint or something that I otherwise can't put my finger on.
Very cool. Maybe so. Yeah. I remember loving Kings of Convenience. I think they actually have a little, what is it called, when they're back?
Yeah. Reunion? Did they reunite?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard much from them. Anyway. And you're on a Norwegian label, Jansen, or is it Jansen?
Jansen, yeah.
Jansen.
Well, yeah.
Okay. This is about your fourth, fifth record, I think?
Yeah, it's our fifth. When you're counting the live record or without that,
I think it's actually the fifth without the live album.
Wow, we've been writing a lot of songs. And every time you write a new record and you put it out, it's like, can I write 10 more songs? We're not as productive as a lot of songwriters are. But yeah, now it's time to feel the confidence that we are able. Yeah.
Well, so this is a Norwegian record label. I noticed they have kind of a variety of sort of like subgenres, sub-labels. One of them is a Nordicana sound, Nordic Americana. Was that Die With Your Boots On, something like that?
Yeah.
So otherwise, a bunch of different genres, and you've worked with them over the time. Have you noticed any differences in the Norwegian music industry compared to American?
Well, it's a lot smaller, so I think the ties are maybe a bit closer.
Yeah,
it's you get to know a lot of people in the different genres and also different labels and everything. And most of the music industry is happening in Oslo, where we live. There are definitely great bands coming out of everywhere, but the industry is really based in Oslo. And we cannot do a radio tour in Norway because there aren't many stations to go to. So doing this is really a great thing for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, much fun.
We did a Norwegian radio interview this morning because then it's like afternoon for them.
Yeah.
But we were trying to tell how American radio works. You have a lot of stations. Yeah. And got such great community built around the stations. Yeah, we love that.
Oh, good. Yeah. Fewer and fewer American stations. A lot of them are kind of getting consolidated and such. And some of these, they're called terrestrial stations. The ones that are actual FM or AM stations, they're kind of going away to some extent, not in a major way, but, you know, satellite radio and all is taking over in some areas. So it's kind of changing over time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we still have a few of these independent stations that you're coming to visit, like this one here. Yeah. And we really appreciate that you can do it. South by Southwest, and then a couple radio stations like ours, and then you're heading home, what, soon?
Yeah, on Tuesday. Our last stop is Vermont. So, yeah, and then we're going back. So, kind of getting adjusted to the Norwegian weather, I guess, by ending up in Vermont. And then flying home, starting in Texas. That was a big difference.
Right, yeah.
Because we left a snowstorm in Oslo. So.
Yeah.
Yes. And I would imagine the population of just South by Southwest is comparable to, I don't know, any major city practically.
Yeah, that might be
Oslo,
true.
maybe even bigger, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be true.
Yeah.
We're not used to standing much in line for anything.
Right.
And get a little grumpy when we realize that you can't really get food without standing in line.
Whoops. Things you learn on the road. Yes, yes. Well, wow. So you did a Norwegian radio interview this morning with them. And then
and then we're doing, we're very confused about time zones actually, because we had to get up really early to do this Norwegian thing this morning. And then we came here, and then we're traveling east, and then at midnight tonight we're doing a LA interview because they're in some different time zone. So we can't go to bed. We'll have to wait up.
Right.
Right. Well, it's a privilege to be such an international.
That's right. Yeah. And time means nothing, or you're timeless now.
Yeah.